Education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world by Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. Good afternoon to one and all present here. I feel privileged to welcome the resource person, dignitaries, faculties and all the students to the national webinar on the topic Secretarial Standards, organized by the Department of Corporate Secretaryship, Etraj College for Women. We are grateful to Dr. V. Shanti Ma'am, Head of the Department, Corporate Secretaryship aided. Thank you, Ma'am, for your valuable guidance and constant support in organizing this webinar. I now request Dr. R. Geeta Lakshmi Ma'am, Head of the Department, Corporate Secretaryship, Self-Supporting, to welcome the gathering.
A very good afternoon to one and all present here. On behalf of the staff and students of the Department of Corporate Secretaryship at Raj College for Women, I welcome you all to the national webinar on secretarial standards. The Institute of Chartered Accountants of India has listed out numerous accounting principles and rules which are to be followed by the auditor fraternity while auditing the organizations they are appointed to audit for. The Chartered Accountants Institute has also introduced the accounting standards, most popularly called as AS, which are supplementary to the accounting rules and norms. The Institute of Company Secretaries of India has also long back introduced some set of rules and norms which are supplementary to the Companies Act 1956 called as Secretarial Standards and popularly termed as SS. ICSI has been the first professional body in the world to start the process of starting secretarial standards for integration, harmonization, and standardization of corporate secretarial practices. Companies follow diverse secretarial practices, and therefore, there is a need to integrate, harmonize, and standardize such practices so as to promote uniformity and consistency. Though adherence by companies to these secretarial standards shall be recommendatory in nature, with growing competition and ever rising need for good corporate governance practices, it is indeed a need of the hour to make these standards mandatory to be followed in letter and spirit by companies. To elaborate on secretarial standards, we have with us our resource person, Ms. Kalyani Subramaniam, who has finished her ACS, ICWA, and as well as CA, who is a partner in Mrs. BKS and Associates Chartered Accountants. She worked as the company secretary for 4 years for Integrated Enterprises India Limited, a leading financial service provider in South India. She has experience in managing accounts at the branch level independently in a manufacturing and finance company. She managed a team of article clerks and supervised audits in a CA firm. I take great pleasure in welcoming you, ma'am, Ms. Kalyani Subramaniam, as our resource person for today. Thank you.
Thank you, Ma'am, for your earnest welcome address. It is my pleasure to invite the resource person for the day, Mrs. Kalyani Subramaniam, Ma'am, CA, ACS, ICWA, partner in BKS and Associates, Chartered Accountants, to deliver the welcome address.
Thank you, Geeta Lakshmi ma'am, for giving an opportunity. Uh, now, I would like to discuss today about the secretarial standards. See, secretarial standards are formulated by Secretarial Standard Board constituted by the Institute of Company Secretaries of India for to promote uniformity and consistency in following the various provisions of the Companies Act. All companies follow the provisions of the Companies Act 2013 for conducting board meetings, annual general meetings, payment of dividend, forfeiture and reissue of shares, issue of debentures, etc. etc. So, secretarial standard provide the sequence of actions for complying those provisions. Now, let us first see what is Secretarial Standard 1. That is Secretarial Standard on meeting of Board of Directors. This standard is applicable to the meeting of board of directors and the committee meetings of the board of all the companies incorporated under the Companies Act 2013 and earlier Companies Act, except one person company which has only one director, and also for Section 8 companies, which is a not for profit organization. So, who can convene a meeting? The directors of the company and the company secretary can convene the meeting of the board of directors. Okay, if there is no company secretary, any person authorized by the board in consultation with the chairman or managing director or whole-time director can convene the board meeting. Okay, if now every board meeting shall have a serial number. What is that? See, we refer the serial number, that is, it's a 40th board meeting held on such and such a date. 50th board meeting held on such and such a date. A meeting may be convened at any time and place on any day. So the meeting can be convened on a Sunday or on any festival day in India or outside India also. Notice for convening the meeting, the first step is to send a notice to all the directors at least 7 days before the date of meeting, unless the article provides a longer period. Suppose if the articles of association says the notice has to be given at least 10 days before the date of the board meeting, the notice has to be given 10 days before the date of the meeting. Notice of the meeting shall clearly mention the venue, which is very important. Venue may be registered office or any place in India or outside India. Board meeting shall be convened online also. The venue in that case shall be the place where all the recording of the proceedings at the meeting would be made. If the meeting is convened in physical mode, yes, any director can participate through electronic mode in a meeting if the company provides such facility. If the company provides a facility for attending the board meeting electronically, the directors can attend the board meeting electronically even if the meeting is on physical mode. Directors shall not participate through electronic mode for some of the business. What are the business for which the directors shall not participate through? They have to be present personally. What are those business? The approval of the annual financial statement, approval of the board's report, auditor's report, and prospectus, and matters relating to the merger, amalgamation, demerger, acquisition, takeover, etc. So now I said notice has to be given at least 7 days before the date of the meeting. Okay, how the notice has to be delivered? So notice should be in writing. Notice in writing of every meeting shall be given to every director by hand. It can be delivered by hand or by speed post or by registered post or by facsimile or email or by any electronic means. Well, if a director specifies a particular means of delivery of the notice to him, the notice shall be given to him only in that mode. Suppose a director says it has to be sent to my email, then it has to be sent to that particular director only by email. Proof of sending the notice and its delivery shall be maintained by the company for how many for such period as decided by the board, for at least for not less than 3 years. Okay, who shall issue notice? The notice shall be issued by the company secretary. If there is no where there is no company secretary for a company, the director or any person authorized by the board for the purpose. The notice shall specify the serial number, date, time, and full address of the venue of the meeting. In case a facility of participation through electronic mode is being made available, The notice shall inform the directors about the availability of electronic facility and provide them necessary information about that facility. The notice of the meeting shall be given even if the meetings are held on predetermined dates or predetermined intervals. What is predetermined dates? Suppose if the board of directors decide to have the meeting on second Saturday of June, September, December, and March. So the board of directors are aware of the date of board meeting, but even in that case, the company secretary has to send a notice to all the directors, and suppose if the notice is sent by courier or by registered post, additional 2 days to be counted. Notice of the adjourned meeting shall be given to all the directors. What is adjourned meeting? If the meeting is if the adjourned meeting is postponement of the original meeting. So in that case, if the notice shall be given to all the directors, including those who did not attend the original meeting. The agendas setting out the business to be transacted and also notes for on agenda shall be given to the directors at least 7 days before the meeting date unless the articles provide for longer period. Each item of business requiring approval at the meeting shall be supported by a note. Some explanation should be given for each agenda. Any item not included in the agenda can the board discuss any business that is not included in the agenda. Any item not included in the agenda shall be discussed may be taken up by the board with the permission of the chairman and with the consent of majority of the directors present in the meeting. To transact urgent business, the board of directors shall convene a meeting with the shorter notice. Shorter notice is less than 7 days, but in that meeting, see, the meeting is convened and the meeting shall be conducted provided at least one independent director shall be present at such meeting. Who is the independent director? The independent director, see, the provisions of the Companies Act says for the listed companies, at least 1/3 of the directors should be independent directors. So the independent directors will not take part in any of the activities of the company. They are impartial. So, to transact the urgent business with the shorter notice, the board shall convene a meeting, but in that meeting, at least one independent director should be present. Example for the business is if the board has to decide on entering into contract with the foreign supplier for the raw material which is on demand. Already the raw material is out of stock, so in that case, they cannot wait for the availability of the directors and to convene the meeting. So, in those cases, shorter notice shall be sent. If no independent director is present, if no independent director is present in the meeting, convened with the shorter notice, decision taken at such meeting shall be circulated to all the directors and it should be ratified by by the majority of the directors, including one independent director. So it should be ratified by the majority of directors, including one independent director. Suppose if the board is not having an independent director, then it shall be ratified by the majority of the directors of the company. The fact that the meeting is being held at a shorter notice should be mentioned in the notice of the meeting. Okay, next is what is the frequency of the meeting? There shall be 4 meetings, minimum 4 meetings in a year. The time gap between the 2 consecutive meetings should not exceed 120 days. So in a year there shall be minimum 4 meetings and the gap should not exceed 120 days. Where a company is required to appoint independent directors, the independent directors they shall meet at least once in a calendar year. Now, for this, what is the quorum? Quorum is presence of directors. Okay, quorum shall be present throughout the meeting. Quorum shall be present not only at the commencement of the meeting, but also while transacting the business. Next is a director who is interested in particular resolution shall not be present while the business is transacted by the directors. So generally, what happens in the companies, for example, the company, the one of the business to be transacted in the board meeting is availing the term loan from a bank. One of the director is director in the bank in that bank also. So he will move out of the room when that particular business is transacted in the board meeting, and he will join once the business is transacted. The quorum for a meeting, for a board meeting is very simple. It is 1/3 of the total strength of the board or two directors, whichever is higher. So, for example, there are 9 directors the total number of directors in a company is 9. So, 1/3 of 9 is 3. So, the provision says 1/3 of the directors or 2. So, here it is 3 or 2, whichever is higher. So, 3 should be the quorum. So, at least 3 directors should be present for the board meeting. Otherwise, it will be adjourned. Okay, next is directors participating through electronic mode in a meeting shall also be considered for quorum. Next is attendance of the meeting. Every company shall maintain separate attendance register for meeting of the board and the meetings of the committee. Every director, company secretary who is in attendance and every invitees for the meeting shall sign the attendance register. Who is the invitee? See, for example, the company is going to expand its business in the Mumbai branch. So, while that business is going to be transacted in the board meeting, they invite the Mumbai head or Mumbai branch manager to explain the growth of the business in that place. So directors, so in that case, invitees name will also be entered in the register, attendance register, and he will be signing the attendance register. The attendance register shall be maintained, where should we maintain the attendance register? It has to be maintained at the registered office or such other place as may be approved by the board. Okay, the attendance register is open for inspection by the directors. They can inspect at any time. Entries in the the names are entered and it is signed by the concerned director and invitees and company secretaries. No, it should be authenticated by the company secretary and or where there is no company secretary, by the person authorized by the board. The attendance register shall be preserved for how many years? The attendance register shall be preserved for a period of 8 financial years, and then it can be discarded with the approval of the board. Leave of absence. What is leave of absence? Suppose a director is unable to attend the board meeting. In that case, leave of absence will be given to the director only when he makes requisition to the company secretary or the chairman of the meeting. Now, who is the chairman of the board? The chairman of the board, the chairman of the company shall be the chairman of the board. It is by default, the chairman of the company shall be the chairman of the board. If the company does not have a chairman, the directors may elect one among themselves to be the chairman. The chairman of the board shall conduct the meeting of the board. If no chairman is elected or if the chairman is unable to attend the meeting, what happens in that case? The directors present at the meeting shall elect one among themselves to conduct the meeting unless otherwise provided in the articles. If the articles of association, that is, unless provided in the articles, what does it mean? Suppose if the provisions, the Companies Act provision says, in the absence of chairman, the directors among themselves, they can elect one person to be chairman. But if the articles of association says, in the absence of chairman, the full-time director has to be appointed as a chairman. In that case, only full-time director can be a chairman of the board meeting. Passing of resolution by circulation. What is this passing of resolution by circulation? See, all the resolutions will be passed in the board meeting. Suppose for any urgent business to be transacted immediately, and it is difficult for the company secretary to arrange for the board meeting, or the directors may not be available for the board meeting. Yeah, and in that case, the business will be transacted by passing of resolution by circulation. But that can be done only if the chairman of the board, or in his absence, the managing director, or whole-time director, or any director other than the interested director, approves the particular business to be transacted by passing of resolution by circulation. So, chairman has to approve, or if in the absence of chairman, the whole-time director or managing director, person authorized by the board, should approve that the particular transaction can be passed by resolution by circulation. Where suppose if more than one third of the total strength of the directors require that the resolution should be passed, should be decided only in the board meeting. In that case, there is no question of passing of resolution by circulation. So if more than one third of the directors says no, this resolution has to be passed, has to be transacted only in the board meeting, then it has to be transacted only in the board meeting. Where more than one third of the, now next is a resolution proposed to be passed by circle. Suppose the board agrees for passing the resolution by circulation. In that case, the company secretary will send a draft resolution to all the directors, including the interested director, on the same day. Okay, on the same day, all the directors will receive the draft resolution to be passed by circulation. The resolution shall be deemed to have been passed on the, when is it deemed to have been passed? On the last date specified in the resolution, signifying assent or dissent by the director. So the directors have to say that the resolution, he is for the resolution or against the resolution. So the resolution shall be deemed to have been passed on the last date specified, signifying his assent or dissent by the directors, or the date on which more than two-thirds of the directors, the assent has been received from more than two-thirds of the directors, whichever is earlier. Suppose more than two-thirds of the directors have given their assent on 10th March, but the last date fixed is 12th March, then the resolution is passed by circulation. And resolution shall be effective from the date if no other specific date is specified in the resolution. Recording of resolution, see, this resolution is passed by circulation, and no board meeting is convened. So, all the resolution passed by circulation has to be noted in the immediately next board meeting. Okay, passing of resolution by circulation shall be considered valid as if it had been passed at a duly convened meeting of the board. Now, next is maintenance of minutes. Board meeting is, all the business are transacted. Now, the board meeting is coming to an end. Now, the minutes has to be recorded. Minutes shall be recorded in the books maintained for that purpose. A company may maintain its books in physical or in electronic form. If the minutes is maintained in electronic form, it should bear a timestamp. The pages of the minutes book shall be consecutively numbered. Minutes shall not be pasted or attached to the minutes book. It should be in the form of loose leaf form, and it can be bounded depending upon the size and volume of the size and volume. Minutes of the board meeting shall be kept. Where shall the board minutes of the board meeting be kept? It shall be kept at the registered office of the company or at such other place as approved by the board. Minutes shall start. How the minutes has to be recorded? Minutes should start with the serial number and the type of meeting, whether it's a board meeting or committee meeting. It should start with the serial number and type of the meeting, name of the company, day, date, venue, and time of commencement and the time of conclusion of the meeting. Minutes should have the record of all the appointments made at the meeting, that is, record of election of the chairman. Next is record of presence of quorum. The name of the directors to whom leave of absence was granted. The mode of attendance of every director, that is, name of the director, whether physically present or electronically, whether he attended the meeting in the electronic mode. In the case of director participating through electronic mode, his particulars, the location from where he has attended the meeting, and also the agenda items in which he participated. If he has participated throughout the meeting, the minutes have to mention, they have to mention the minutes that he has attended the meeting. He has attended for all the agenda of the meeting. The names of the secretary who is in attendance and the invitees name. Next is noting of the minutes of the previous meeting. So this is very important. The previous noting of the minutes of the previous meeting is very important. Then the text of resolution passed by circulation since the last meeting. Including dissent or assent. So if any resolution is passed by circulation, the text of that resolution, and the dissent or assent, number of dissent and number of assent, and also noting the minutes of the committee meetings, conducted since the last board meeting. The fact that the interested directors were not present during the discussion and did not vote. That has to be mentioned in the minutes. If any director has participated only for part of the meeting, the agenda items in which he did not participate and the agenda items in which he has participated has to be recorded. Now, the minutes shall be written in clear, concise, and plain language. Any document, report, or notes placed in the board meeting for transacting the business shall be initialed by the chairman or the company secretary. Now, the minutes has to be circulated. The draft minutes has to be circulated within 15 days from the date of the board meeting. And this can be delivered by hand or by speed post or ordinary post, whatever, the facsimile or email and any electronic means. And minutes shall be entered in the minutes book within 30 days from the date of conclusion of the meeting. Minutes of the meeting of the board. Who shall sign the minutes of the meeting of the board? It should be signed and dated by the chairman of the meeting or by the chairman of the next meeting. Suppose the chairman resigns immediately after the board meeting, he cannot sign, so it will be signed by the chairman of the next board meeting. Minutes once signed by the chairman shall not be altered. Okay, now the copy of the signed minutes certified by the company secretary shall be circulated to all the directors within 15 days after it is signed. There are the annual return and the annual report of the company. What is annual report? Annual report is notice, financial statements, director's report, and auditor's report, consolidated audit report. And annual return is filed with Ministry of Corporate Affairs after holding the general body meeting. So the annual report and annual return of the company shall disclose the number and dates of meetings of the board and committees held during the financial year, and including the number of meetings attended by each director, name of the director and the number of meetings attended by the director. Okay, now we will move to Secretarial Standard 2, which is Secretarial Standard on General Meeting. Okay, now who can convene the general meeting? A general meeting shall be convened by the board or on the authority of the board. Notice in okay, now for this also the notice has to be sent to the all the members of the company, all the shareholders of the company. Notice in writing of every meeting shall be given to the member of the company. In addition to the shareholder member of the company, it will be given to the directors, auditors, secretarial audit, statutory auditors, secretarial auditors, and debenture trustees. How the notice how the notice will be delivered to the shareholders or statutory auditors and directors report, especially the shareholders. It has to be sent by speed post or by registered post or by FESIMINE or by email or by any other electronic means. Nowadays, in most of the companies deliver the notice by emails. What is that electronic means? Electronic means suppose the company sent a link to all the shareholders by mail, by email. If they click the link, they can view the notice of the general meeting. The notice of the general meeting shall be posted on the website of the company. Notice shall specify, okay, what is the contents of the notice? The notice shall specify the day, date, time, and full address of the venue of the meeting with route map and also the prominent landmark for easy identification. In the AGM transacted, see, generally in the general body, there are two types of general meetings. One is annual general meeting and another is extraordinary general meeting. In the annual general meeting, the ordinary business, both ordinary business and special business shall be transacted. But in the extraordinary general meeting, only special business shall be transacted. Okay, now what are ordinary business? I say it is ordinary business and special business. What are ordinary business? See, section 102 of the Companies Act list out the ordinary business. That is, there are four ordinary business: the consideration of financial statements and the reports of the board of directors and auditors, the declaration of dividend, the appointment of directors in the place of those retiring, and the appointment and fixing of remuneration of auditors. Why it is classified ordinary and special business? Because for the ordinary business, the notice resolutions are not required to be stated in the notice. That is, for these four items, resolutions need not be stated in the notice. Whereas for all the special business will start only with the resolution, and it will be followed by the explanatory statement. That is, they have to give explanation. Suppose an alternate director, new director is appointed, they have to, it's a special business, so in that case, they have to mention about the director and the reason for appointing him now for the company. So, for the ordinary business, resolutions are not required to be stated in the notice. But suppose if the auditors to be appointed or other than the retiring auditor, then in that case, the resolution has to be stated in the notice. Notice and accompanying documents shall be given at least 21 days, 21 clear days in advance of the meeting. Only those items specified in the notice and those specifically permitted under the Act shall be taken up in the meeting. See, in the general body meeting, they can take up only those items that are mentioned in the notice. Okay, now next is notice shall be accompanied. Okay, now the notice will have an attendance slip and the proxy form. I will discuss the proxy form later. It shall accompany the attendance slip and the proxy form. The proxy form will have a clear instruction for filling, stamping, signing, or and depositing the proxy form to the company. Now, this is the contents of the notice. Next is frequency of the meeting. What is the frequency of conducting the general meeting and the extraordinary general meeting? The general meeting shall be convened during the business hours, that is between 9 a.m. and 6 p.m. on any day other than the national holiday. So even on Sundays, a general body meeting shall be conducted, but it should not be a national holiday. What is a national holiday? It is defined in the Companies Act. The national holiday are the 26th January, 15th August, and 2nd October. And if the central government announces any other day as a national holiday, it will be taken as a national holiday. So, the meeting shall be conducted on any day between 9 a.m. and 6 p.m. That day should not be a national holiday. The extraordinary general meeting, same procedure. Any special business after holding AGM in the calendar year shall be transacted at the EGM. Yeah, that is extraordinary general meeting. It has to be transacted necessarily in the meeting, then they have to hold the extraordinary general meeting. Now, next is what is a quorum here for the general body meeting. For the general body meeting, the quorum is if the number of shareholders for a company is less than 1,000, the quorum for the general meeting is 5. If the number of shareholders for the company is less than 5,000, then the quorum is 15. If the number of shareholders for the company exceeds 5,000, the quorum should be 30. Now, quorum is presence of shareholders in person. That is the quorum. In the case of quorum shall be present throughout the meeting. Okay, suppose a body corporate or the X Limited has invested in the shares of a company. So how can the company attend the general body meeting? In that case, the board of directors, by way of resolution, appoint a representative for attending the general body meeting. In the case of the government can also invest in the shares of the company. In that case, if the government invests in the shares of the company, the representative of the President of India or the governor of the state, the representative of the governor of the state is deemed to be a member personally present. So, in the case of body corporate, the board of directors appoint a representative. In the case of government company, if the government invests in the shares of the company, the representative appointed by the President of India or the governor of state. Okay. Now, in the general body meeting, all the directors should be present. If the director is unable to attend the meeting, the chairman shall explain the reason for not attending the general body meeting by the director. Directors who attended the general meeting of the company, generally what happens is, in the general body meeting, the chairman and the directors and the company secretaries will be sitting on the dais. So now, next is, what about the statutory auditors and secretarial auditors? The statutory auditors and the secretarial auditors shall either by themselves, they themselves can attend the general body meeting, or they may authorize any person to attend the general meeting of the company, and the auditors, that is statutory auditors and secretarial auditors, has the right to be heard on that part of the business which concerns them as auditors. For example, the financial statement, consideration of financial statement being an ordinary business, while the chairman reads the financial statement, the auditor has the auditor can take part in the discussion. Next is appointment of chairman. The chairman of the board shall take the chair and conduct the meeting. Okay, suppose if the chairman is not present within 15 minutes after the time appointed for holding the general body meeting time is 10 a.m. and the chairman has not reached the venue by till 10:15, or in that case, or if he is unwilling to act as a chairman, in those cases, the directors among themselves elect one among themselves to be a chairman of the meeting. If the director is present, if the directors are not present within 15 minutes, no directors have come till 10:15. In that case, the shareholders among themselves, by show of hands, elect one person to be a chairman of the general body meeting. That will not happen normally. The chairman shall conduct the meeting in a fair and impartial manner, and ensure that only such business as has been set out in the notice is transacted. Generally, what chairman does is he will greet the gathering, and he will talk few words about the performance of the company and also about the growth of the company. The chairman shall explain the objective and implicate while transacting the resolutions. The chairman shall explain the objective and implications of the resolution before they are put to vote on the at the meeting. Now, next is proxies. A member entitled to attend and vote is entitled to appoint a. If I am a shareholder, I have the right to attend the general body meeting, and also I have the right to vote. If I am not able to attend the meeting, I shall appoint a proxy. Proxy need not be a member of the company. And if the company allows, the shareholder can appoint more than one proxy also. Format of proxy form is provided in the Companies Act. An instrument of proxy, the proxy should be duly filled in. See, the shareholder will fill the date, name of the proxy, and and then he will sign by affixing the revenue stamp and duly crossed. Then he will sign the proxy form and he will send it to the company at least 48 hours. That I will tell you. An instrument of proxy is valid only if it is properly stamped as per the applicable law. Unstamped or inadequately stamped or proxies upon which there is no stamp at all or have not been cancelled, which has not been cancelled, or invalid proxies. The proxy holder shall have proved his identity at the venue of the meeting. An authorized representative of the body corporate or the President of India shall appoint a proxy under his signature. He is a representative, but he can appoint a proxy under his signature. If a company receives multiple proxies for the same holding of the member, the proxy which is dated lost shall be a valid proxy. For example, a shareholder sends two proxy forms. First proxy form is dated 10th March, and the proxy is Mr. A. And he has sent another proxy form dated 8th March with the proxy name is Mr. B. In that case, the proxy form dated 10th March is a valid proxy, so Mr. A can attend the meeting. Next is deposit of proxies. The proxy shall be deposited with the company either in person or by post. They cannot be sent by email. Okay, it has to be delivered by hand or by speed post or by post at least 48 hours before the time of the annual general meeting. Okay, now the question is, suppose the meeting is, general body meeting is on Tuesday 12 noon. So the proxy form should reach the company by 10, by Sunday 12 noon. The office is, it's a public holiday, but still that proxy form is valid. So the proxy form shall be delivered to the company even on a public holiday. If the article so provide, a member who has not appointed a proxy to attend and vote on his behalf at a meeting may appoint a proxy for the adjourned meeting. See, the shareholder himself has attended the general body meeting, original general meeting, but the general meeting is adjourned. So for the adjourned meeting, he can appoint a proxy. Then next is, if a proxy has been appointed for the original meeting and such meeting is adjourned, the proxy given for the adjourned meeting revokes the proxy given for the original meeting. Generally, what happens is, if the meeting is adjourned, the proxy is also carried over. So the same proxy is valid for the adjourned meeting also. But sometimes what happens is, the shareholder appoints Mr. A as a proxy for the original meeting and appoints Mr. B as a proxy for the adjourned meeting. So the only Mr. B can attend the adjourned meeting. Next is, a proxy dated last revokes any proxies dated prior to such proxy. When a member appoints a proxy, suppose a member appoints a proxy and both member and proxy is present in the venue of the meeting. In that case, only member shall attend the meeting. Inspection of proxies. See, the members of the shareholders of the company or on requisition shall inspect the proxies received by the company, but they have to make the requisition at least 3 days before the date of the meeting. Proxies shall be made available for inspection during the period 24 hours from the 24 hours before the time fixed for the meeting till the conclusion of the meeting. So that is on Monday 10 a.m. is the general body meeting day. The proxies shall be inspected from 10 a.m. on Sunday till the conclusion of the meeting on Monday. A fresh requisition confirming to the above requirement shall be given for it. That is, if the meeting is adjourned, the shareholders have to make a fresh requisition for inspecting the proxies for the adjourned meeting. All proxies received by the company shall be recorded chronologically in the register maintained, and if any proxy is rejected, it has to be noted in that register. The reason for rejecting the proxy must be noted in the register. Next is voting in general meeting. Every resolution shall be proposed by the member and seconded by the another member. Every company having its equity shares listed on a recognized stock exchange and companies having shareholders more than 1,000 shall provide e-voting facility to their members to exercise their voting rights. Even now, the e-voting facility is only optional. E-voting facility will be sent to all the shareholders of the company by mail, but the shareholders shall attend the meeting and cast their vote. Now every company shall put every resolution to vote on a show of hands at the first instance and then by poll if demand is valid. If there is a valid demand, after voting by show of hands, polling can be done. Every member holding equity shares and in certain cases the member holding preference shares shall be entitled to vote on a resolution. A member who is a related party is not entitled to vote on a resolution relating to the approval of the contract or arrangement. What if a shareholder is related party for a particular resolution, he cannot vote for that resolution. Now, by show of hands, the voting is completed. The scrutinizers are counting the votes in favor of the resolution and the votes, number of votes against the resolution. If the voting in favor and against are same, in that case, the second vote will be given, shall be given by the chairman of the meeting, and it will be the resolution. It will be decided whether the resolution to be passed. If he casts his vote in favor of the resolution will be passed. If he casts his vote not in favor of the resolution shall not be passed in that meeting. Then conducting of e-voting. What is e-voting? I will just give a brief note on e-voting. Every company providing e-voting facility shall offer such facility to all the members, irrespective of whether they are holding the shares in the physical form or in the electronic mode. The facility for e-voting shall remain open for not less than 3 days. Minimum 3 days should be there for us, because they have to see, the shareholders have to see the mail, and they have to do, there is a procedure. So minimum 3 days should be given for e-voting. The voting period shall close at 5 p.m. on the day before the date of the general body meeting. Board's approval, they will appoint they will appoint one or more scrutinizers for e-voting on the ballot process, or they will appoint the agency for the voting. Notice shall inform the members about the procedure of remote e-voting, availability of such facility, and provide necessary information thereof to enable them to access such facility. It is a very simple process, like they will give the link, you have to open the link, and you have to key in the login ID and password, and then you have to vote, you have to say yes or no for the particular resolution. So it's an easy process. E-voting facility is an easy process. Scrutinizers appointed shall give a report which will be countersigned by the chairman. Now, voting is completed, but for some of the reports have to be necessarily read out in the annual general meeting. What are those? See, the qualification, the statutory auditors or the secretarial auditors may make some qualifications or observation or comments or other remarks with regard to financial transactions or with regard to compliance of secretarial work. So in that case, that has to be read out separately in the meeting, and what happens is this financial statements or this secretarial auditor's report is already placed in the board meeting and discussed. So the directors would have given their comments in the board meeting for the qualifications or observations made by the statutory auditors or secretarial auditors. In this board meeting, those qualifications and observations should be read out, and the comments made by the board of directors shall also be read out in the general body meeting to all the shareholders. Minutes may be, next is minutes. We know that minutes may be maintained in physical form or in electronic form. If it is in electronic form, it should bear the timestamp. The pages of the minutes book shall be consecutively numbered. Minutes shall not be pasted or attached. It should be in the loose leaf form, and it has to be bounded. The minutes book shall be kept at the registered office of the company. General body meeting minutes book shall be kept only at the registered office of the company. The contents of the minutes. Minutes shall state at the beginning of the meeting, name of the company, and day, date, venue, and time of commencement of the meeting and conclusion of the meeting. Minutes shall record the name of the directors and the company secretary present in the meeting. Next is the main contents. That is, minutes shall contain the record of election of the chairman. and the documents, the reports, registers, documents, or they have to make a statement. It has to be, the record has to be made for the certain registers, documents, or auditor's report and secretarial report were available for inspection. All are available for inspection at the time of general body meeting. The record of presence of quorum, the number of members present personally for the meeting, and the number of proxies and the number of shares represented by them. And next is the presence of the chairman of the audit committee or the nomination and remuneration committee, stakeholders. There are various committees under the board. So the chairman of the presence of chairman of those committees, because if any question rises, they have to give the explanation in the general body meeting. The presence of the secretarial auditor or statutory auditors, summary of the opening remarks of the chairman, and the reading of qualifications, which I have already discussed, the reading of qualification observation made by the auditors, statutory auditors and secretarial auditors, and the comments made by the board of directors, summary of the clarifications provided on various agenda items. When they read out each agenda, they will give explanation for this. Those explanations should also be recorded in the minutes. In respect of each resolution, the type of resolution, whether it's an ordinary resolution or a special resolution, if and who has proposed the resolution, the name of the shareholder who has proposed the resolution, the name of the shareholder who has seconded the resolution should be mentioned in the minutes. In the case of poll, the name of the scrutinizers appointed and the number of votes cast in favor and the number of votes against the resolution shall be mentioned. If the chairman vacates a chair in respect of any specific item, the fact that the chairman has vacated the chair and the name of the director who has acted as a chairman for that particular business has to be noted in the minutes. The time of commencement and conclusion of the meeting should be recorded. Minutes shall be written in a clear, concise order, and each item of business taken up in the meeting shall be numbered. It should be serially numbered. It should match with the notice number or name, serial number of the resolution in the notice should be matched with the serial number in the minutes. The date of entry of the minutes in the minutes book shall be recorded by the, while it is entered in while the minutes is entered in the minutes book, it has to be, the date on which it is entered has to be recorded by the company secretary. Minutes once entered in the minutes book shall not be altered. Minutes book, the minutes has to be recorded in the minutes book within 30 days from the date of the conclusion of the meeting. Now next is minutes of the general meeting shall be signed and dated by the minutes shall be signed and dated by the chairman of the meeting, or in the event of inability of the chairman or unfortunate death of the chairman, by any director who was present in the meeting and duly authorized by the board for that purpose. The board of directors has to authorize a director to sign and date the minutes. And the chairman shall initial each page of the minutes, sign the last page, mentioning the date on which he has signed and the venue from where he is signing the minutes. The minutes book is available for inspection by the directors and the shareholders. Extract shall be given if needed. Minutes of all meetings shall be preserved permanently in a physical or in electronic form. The notices and the scrutinizers report and related papers that is used in the general body meeting shall be maintained for shall be preserved for 8 financial years, and then it can be destroyed with the approval of the board. Minutes book shall be kept in the custody of the company secretary. Okay, now the company, every listed company has to give a report on the annual report about the annual general meeting in the prescribed form. In that, they have to necessarily include that the meeting was, general body meeting was convened, held and conducted as per the provisions of the Act. The annual return of the company shall disclose the date of the annual general meeting held during the financial year. So this is for the meeting of the secretarial standard for general body meeting. Now we will see the secretarial standard on dividend. Dividend, you people are aware that dividend is paid on the shares of the company. There are two types of dividends as far as equity shares are concerned. For the preference shares, it is only final dividend. For the equity shares, there are two types of dividend, interim dividend and final dividend. Interim dividend is paid in the year in which the profit is earned, whereas the final dividend is paid in the year in the subsequent year for the profit earned in the previous year. Why it is so? Because for the interim dividend is declared by the board of directors. If the company has earned huge profits, the directors shall declare a dividend in the board meeting, whereas the final dividend shall be only board of directors shall only recommend the final dividend, and it will be declared only in the general body meeting. That is why the final dividend is paid in the next financial year for the profit earned in the previous financial year. Okay, now Section 8 companies, that is not for profit organization, are not are prohibited from paying dividend to its members. Okay, now dividend shall be paid out of profits or out of free reserves. Okay, what is out of profits? The profits will be arrived after charging depreciation and after charging all, after paying making provision for taxation, whatever profit available after paying the dividend to the preference shareholders, whatever profit available will be given to the shareholders by way of dividend. It is not necessary for the company to pay the entire profits to the shareholders as dividend, but dividend shall be paid out of the profits of the financial year or out of the profits of the previous financial years also. Suppose the previous financial years, the profit is the part of the profit was only distributed as dividend, and still the profit is shown in the balance sheet. That profit will also be used for declaring dividend for the current financial year. But the depreciation, but all the provisions of the Companies Act should be followed. If the company fails to pay, suppose the companies issue shares, company issue debentures. In the same way, the company invites fixed deposits from the public. So the fixed deposits are shown under the non-current liabilities in the balance sheet. The fixed deposits are to be repaid to the fixed deposit holders along with interest on the maturity date. Suppose if the company fails to repay the fixed deposits with interest on the maturity date, though the profit is available for the company cannot pay dividend to the equity shareholders. Now, if the dividend is paid, what is dividend paid out of free reserves? In a year in which the profits are inadequate or there are no profits at all, the company wants to declare dividend, so the company may declare dividend out of free reserves subject to the fulfillment of the conditions. There are many conditions. I will just give you one condition. The dividend rate for this year should not exceed the average dividend rate for the past 3 years. Next is how the dividend is declared. Dividend shall be declared only on the recommendation of the board. Dividend shall be declared only at the annual general meeting. No dividend shall be declared on the equity shares for the previous years. That is, the dividend for the previous years shall not be declared now. That is, no dividend shall be declared on equity shares for the previous years, in respect of which the accounts were placed in the general body meeting and the general body meeting was conducted. So, in that case, the company cannot pay dividend for that year. Interim dividend shall be declared at the meeting of the board, which we have seen already. Now, some of the companies may give discount coupon. That discount coupon cannot be considered as dividend. And also, the company may issue bonus shares to the shareholders. The bonus shares shall not be considered as dividend. Shall be paid only to the registered shareholders of the company whose name appear in the register of members of the company are entitled to the dividend. Preference shareholders shall be paid dividend before the dividend to the equity shareholders. And also, in the case of cumulative preference shares, if there is any arrears of dividend for the cumulative preference shares, that has to be paid first before payment of dividend on equity shares. Dividend on equity shares shall be paid in accordance with the rights of respective classes. Suppose the shares are in the case of listed companies, shares are purchased in the stock exchange. Suppose the company pays dividend, one of the Mr. A has purchased shares from Mr. B. So Mr. B is the seller, Mr. A is the purchaser of shares. So he is bringing the share certificate if it is in the physical mode along with the instrument of transfer. Or even in the case of dematerialization of shares, there may be a time gap from the date of purchase to the date of credit to the dematerialized account. So, if the company pays dividend at that point of time, only the name of the seller will appear in the register of members. The name of the purchaser will not appear in the register of members. So, for those cases, the company will transfer the amount to the company will transfer the amount to the unpaid dividend account. Next is deposited in a separate bank account within 5 days from the date of general body meeting. Dividend shall be paid only in cash and cannot be paid in kind. The validity of the instrument is 3 months. The validity of the dividend warrant or check is 3 months. Dividend check or warrant shall be accompanied by a statement which gives the details of the number of shares held by the shareholder. First, the folio number, if the shares are held physically, and name of the depository participants ID and the client ID if the shares are held in electronic form, and number of shares held by the shareholder, the dividend per share and the amount of dividend, and the financial year for which the dividend is paid. Dividend shall be paid proportionately on the paid up share capital. If the shareholder, if the calls in arrears shall be adjusted with the dividend. Now, unpaid dividend. What is unpaid dividend? See, the dividend is declared and it is paid to all the shareholders. Some of the shareholders, for those, if bank particulars are given, it will be credited to the bank directly. Otherwise, the dividend warrant will be sent to the shareholders. If the shareholders, if the shareholder has not deposited the dividend warrant or the bank particulars are incorrect, it will be returned to the company. So, in that case, it will be transferred to the unpaid dividend account. The amount of dividend will be transferred to the unpaid dividend account. After the expiry of the validity of the check, it will be automatically transferred to the unpaid dividend account, because the shareholder has to request for the fresh dividend warrant. Okay, any amount lying in the so the amount is transferred to unpaid dividend account. This unpaid dividend account is shown under current liabilities in the balance sheet. Any amount in the unpaid dividend account of the company which remains unpaid for 7 financial years, then it will be transferred to the Investor Education and Protection Fund. If it is not claimed by the shareholder for 7 financial years, it will be transferred to the Investor Education Protection Fund. But the company, before transferring these amount from the unpaid dividend account to the Investor Education Protection Fund account, they will send notice to the shareholders who have not claimed the dividend. They will and give 3 months time to encash the dividend. If the dividend is still not encashed, it will be transferred to investors education protection fund along with interest earned by the company in that bank account. Now, dividend once declared is a debt, it cannot be revoked. And dividend checks or warrants returned by the bank has to be returned by the bank or it shall be preserved for 8 years. Now, disclosure of payment of dividend in the financial statements. See, in the dividend for this year, the final dividend for this year is only recommended by the board of directors. It is not paid on the as on 31st March, for example, 31st March 2021. It is not paid on 31st March 2021. It is only recommended by the board of directors. So this will be shown in the financial statement and in the notes to accounts as proposed dividend for this year. And any amount transferred to unpaid dividend account for the period of 7 years will be shown separately in the financial statement. And also any amount transferred to Investor Education Protection Fund also, the details will be given in the annual report as well as the annual return. Now next is the balance sheet, the amount of interim dividend paid during the financial year and the final dividend recommended by the board shall be disclosed in the board's report. In the board's report, the interim dividend paid during the year and the final dividend recommended by the board has to be mentioned in the board's report. The annual report of the company shall disclose the total amount lying in the unpaid dividend account of the company and the amount transferred to Investor Education Protection Fund. These are as per the provisions of the Companies Act, but these are listed in the secretarial standards. Okay, next is SS5, which is secretarial standard on minutes, but I don't want to go in detail on this because we have already discussed this. Only one point I would like to mention here. Minutes should contain unambiguous terms and it should be fair and correct summary of the proceedings of the meeting. Minutes should be written in third person and past tense. I just want to that is the main. Other points we have already discussed in the general meeting and also in the board meeting. Okay. Next is secretarial standard on affixing a common seal. It's a small secretarial standard which I would like to discuss. Okay. Now, I have discussed now 3 secretarial standards and also the minutes of the meeting. See, secretarial standard is given in a simple language, so anyone can easily understand the provisions of the Companies Act. So, please read the secretarial standards so that you will understand all the provisions of the Companies Act and it will be very useful for your exams also. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It was certainly thoughtful and instructive. I now request the faculty of the department, Mrs. T.S. Vaishnavi, ma'am, to deliver the vote of thanks.
Good afternoon to everyone. I deem it a great privilege to propose the vote of thanks for today's national webinar on secretarial standards. I express my heartfelt thanks to the management of Ethraj College, Principal Dr. Kodai ma'am, Vice Principal Aided Dr. Usharani ma'am, and Vice Principal Self-Supporting Dr. Usha Priya ma'am for giving us an opportunity to conduct this webinar. I express my gratitude to Dr. V. Shanti ma'am, Head of the Department of Corporate Secretaryship Aided, and Dr. R. Geeta Lakshmi ma'am, Head of the Department Self-Supporting, for their constant support and guidance. Words are inadequate to express my gratitude to Mrs. Kalyani Subramaniam ma'am, partner Mrs. BKS and Associates, Chartered Accountants, for instantly accepting our invitation. Thank you so much, ma'am, for having spent your valuable time amidst your busy schedule and giving your valuable inputs on secretarial standards. I express my sincere thanks to the faculty members and to the students of the department for their help and support throughout. My special thanks to the student coordinators Kavya Lakshmi G, Mohana Jayalakshmi M, Deepika S, Sweda S, Divyanandini A, and Chandravadana for their untiring efforts, and a special thanks to Mr. Mahesh, lab technician, for the technical support. Thank you all.
Thank you, ma'am. For the outside participants, the feedback form link for the e-certificates has been posted in the comment section. I repeat, for the outside participants, the feedback form link for the e-certificates has been posted in the comment section. Students from Department of Corporate Secretaryship will receive the link in their respective class groups. I repeat, students from Department of Corporate Secretaryship will receive the link in their respective class groups. Thank you.